from Bukidnon, Philippines, and one of the coordinators for TESOL IS Tech Talks, a monthly free webinar where teachers around the world gather for an hour to hear from experts and practitioners on their best practices in the use of digital tools in teaching and learning. A special shout out to my students in PhD Computer Assisted Language Learning class. Hi there. Thank you for being with us tonight. I hope that you're not just being here because I required you to, but because you want to improve your teaching repertoire with the tips from our experts tonight. And of course, a special recognition to the Call IS team headed by our past chair, Minson Kim, and my co-coordinator, Elena. Hi there. And Shimgi is here. Is she here with us tonight? And by the way, as we go along the discussion, please feel free to use the chat box for your questions and insights as we go along the discussion for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A for 10 to 15 minutes. So without so much ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our EdTech expert for this month's Tech Talk. He earned his Master's of Science and Bachelor of Engineering first class honors from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. He has dedicated 25 years to higher education as an engineering lecturer. He actively adopted problem-based and project-based learning, guided by his belief that students should be empowered to learn how to learn. I really like that. After 2 decades on the front line of teaching, he now serves in a faculty development capacity. His work centers on harnessing educational technologies that add value to both educators and learners. He currently leads digitalization initiatives that apply emerging tools such as AI and learning analytics to cultivate responsive teaching and personalized learning environments. His research interests include AI in education, learning analytics, high-flex learning, and the use of digital nudges to support self-regulated learning. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Engineer Chee. Let's give him a virtual applause, please.
Thank you, Riza, for the introduction. Yeah, hi. My name is Chee Kin. I'm from Singapore. So it is good evening over here. And if you're outside of Asia, it's probably good morning or good afternoon. So thank you, Riza, for giving me this opportunity to share to our audience over here. I first met Riza in Passage to ASEAN event about a year ago. Basically, Passage to ASEAN is a non-profit network of institutes of higher learning in Southeast Asia. All right, so I think tonight I'm really grateful for her, for giving me this opportunity to come over here and share with you guys. And also thank you, Min San and Jingyi, for all the arrangement. All right, so let me just share the deck first. All right, I hope you can see it. Okay.
So it's on screen, yeah.
All right. So when I first came up with the title for this webinar, actually my intent was really to contextualize it, for our audience over here. But actually now I come to think of it, I thought it was, I'm putting myself at risk. Reason being, I'm not a lecturer who teaches communication skills or language. All right. So to really say, teaching comm skills, I'm the least qualified. In fact, when I was a student, I often struggled with, in Singapore, we take English language as the first language. I often struggle with that, to be frank, for many years. And I often get borderline pass. When it comes to presentation, oral presentation, I'm always very fearful of it, to be frank. So that was me, when I used to be a student. But definitely, now I think of it, so I thought in the first place I have to qualify that first. But perhaps if were to come from EdTech, educational technology angle, so Riza said that I'm an EdTech expert. Actually, I'm not an expert. If I am, I'm probably half a step ahead, of you folks. That might be the case, because of the work that I'm doing. All right. I'm actually with one of the Institute of Higher Learning in Singapore. So as Riza has mentioned in the introduction, so I look after uh, digitalization for teaching and learning within the institution itself. And then, of course, with AI, I think there is definitely a lot of room for us to really explore how AI can best be harnessed for teaching and learning. All right. So because of the nature of my role, so I sort of have been exploring in this space, and perhaps I just hope that through this session I can share some of the thoughts based on the journey that I have been through. All right. So this is the outline of my sharing in this session. So I'll just go ahead. So what's that? Fast machines, slow thinkers. All right. So I think this is probably the starting point, right? Because I've been exploring EdTech for quite some time. And I think perhaps with the emergence of Gen AI, generative AI, I thought it has sort of caused a stir, especially in the higher education sector. All right. So based on my journey of actually tinkering with AI for especially in the last few years, I'm of the view that there is definitely value to really harness AI uh, to augment the work that we do, as educators in our teaching, and of course to aid students in their learning. All right. But of course, I guess while the general posture is to really embrace I think we also need to really be mindful in terms of the pitfalls. All right, especially if you look at the last point that I mentioned here, skills erosion. I think from a teaching and learning angle, I'm particularly concerned about that because uh, I think with Gen AI, students can easily outsource their thinking, all right, to the AI, and as a result, they may not be connectively engaged. All right. So now, if you have come across this book by Daniel Kahneman, so he mentioned about the two systems of thinking. System one thinking is very much like, for instance, when we are driving and if you are approaching a traffic junction and you start to see that the traffic light is turning amber, I think our natural reaction at that point in time, is to step on the brake, and by the time we approach the junction, as it turns red, we will have stopped in time. So that is really, systems one kind of thinking, fast and intuitive. And that's exactly what I think the AI is good at. So when the AI is being prompted by us users, so the AI will process the prompt and basically returns you with the response, the content that it thinks that you are looking for in pretty much a quick time. All right. So that's essentially what the AI is good at. But I thought I thought with AI, since I mentioned earlier on, there is value in harnessing AI for education. I think what's really interesting is to how to harness AI for the systems to kind of thinking, which is slow and deliberative. All right. So and I and also in relation to my point earlier about cognitive offloading to the AI, I think this is where if we design our learning activities and assessments well, I think this is where we can truly harness AI, where the students can really be, engaged cognitively and develop critical thinking and also making ethical judgment. So I think that's where the potential really is. All right. So I think we should really think hard about this and see how AI can be harnessed for the systems to kind of thinking. But of course, I mean, from my experience working with faculty members in my institution, it is basically not a straightforward journey. All right. And let me share why this is the case in the next part of my sharing. So one of the challenges that I mean I face especially in the early stages of Gen AI development about 2 years ago in 2023, it was really about faculty's concern on academic integrity. All right. So by faculty, I mean my language and communication lecturers. All right. So so that's the context for the rest of the sharing, because in language and communication modules are actually mandatory modules for all students in my institution. So and in this kind of in this kind of modules, I think that there is a lot of assessment that involves students having to submit reports. All right. So um, so before Gen AI came into the scene, these reports are typically will run through an anti-plagiarism software. All right. So the software will return a value, and that sort of inform the tutors whether the student has actually plagiarized the work or not. All right. But with Gen AI, it is not so straightforward, to be able to tell whether the students have plagiarized or not. All right. So, but the truth was, at that point in time, a number of faculty members still, uh, came to me and asking, okay, so if X% is detected as AI, is this considered plagiarism or not? All right. Somehow that mindset of depending on a certain threshold percentage is still deeply ingrained in them, and I think that that's to be expected, because for many years that has been the practice, right? So but if we understand how Gen AI works, that generation of content by the AI, all right, trying to predict what the next word in that sentence might be, is probabilistic in nature. All right. So therefore, to really detect whether the content are AI generated, there is that chance where it may produce a false positive. All right. So we may end up with the situation where the students could be wrongly accused. If we simply just depend on the number, like for instance, 56% shown on the screen, does that mean that the students have plagiarized the work? Maybe in the past that might be the case, but with Gen AI, we can't tell for sure. All right. So, but we can of course then go as far as to then say that perhaps this is an opportunity to use this as an additional data point to then say that have that conversation with the students. All right. But it was not easy to convince faculty members to think that way. All right. So yeah. So so that was the situation. Okay. So somehow my sensing is that, okay, perhaps they was trying to look for that perfect solution. So then they started to actually explore one of these detectors that's available in the market that uh, probably seem to promise a lot in terms of uh, um, the accuracy of its detection. All right. So so they went about exploring and then tried passing in students assignments into the software to see what might come out of it. And what do you think came out of the exploration? Basically, the team could not reach a definite conclusion. All right, so the outcomes were not consistent. I think that sort of gradually led the faculty members to come to accept that AI detection is ineffective. All right, because that's basically how generative AI works. As I mentioned earlier, is probabilistic in nature, and therefore chances of having a false positive is actually not surprising. But then, of course, in a sense, they sort of come to accept that. But I think beyond that, I mean, there were also observations that some of our students are probably more digital savvy. All right, so what they did was they will pass the AI generated output to another software. It could be a paraphrasing tool, or it could be another AI tool that writes like a human, so called. All right, to kind of evade detection. So it's definitely going to be a chasing game. All right, so if we just want to depend on the detection route, not to say that it shouldn't be the case, but as I mentioned earlier, this could be an additional data point to start that conversation with the students. All right, but of course it's easier said than done. All right, yeah. So I guess at the end of the day, I thought that the biggest win out of that exploration and that realization that AI detection is ineffective, I think they also come to the point where they realize that it's probably more important to relook into the existing assessment practices. All right. So relook at how assessments could be redesigned to really tap on the full value of AI. I mean, in the sense that don't design your assessment such that where the AI can basically perform the job for the students quite easily. All right. While at the same time, to also rethink about what validity of assessment means. So what are the learning outcomes? All right. So especially in this age of AI. So yep. So I guess it is that change of mindset lah. So instead of actually taking on a punitive approach, that means having that mindset to, oh, I want to police the students, are they cheating or not? Take on an educative approach, meaning to say, continue to educate students on responsible use of AI. But I guess to do that is important, as I mentioned earlier, relook into assessment practices. Because if you are going to design your assessment such that the students can easily use the AI, to get the work done, as we know, assessment drives learning, and students are, after all, wanting to perform well. All right, so they will try all means, strategize, just to make sure that they perform well. All right, so if we were to instead design our assessment such that it is not so straightforward, just to get the AI tool to get the job done for them, then definitely this will require them to be cognitively engaged. All right, so therefore, I mean, there is that need to then, I mean, ask ourselves, what the learning outcomes should be. What are we trying to assess the students in this age of AI? And I mean, there's one thing that I always share with faculty members. I say, look, cheating has been there even before Gen AI came into the scene. All right, so AI is actually not the culprit, because the students could just contract cheating, right? I mean, they could just outsource the assignment, get someone else to do it for them. So sometimes it's really not the tech issue, it is a human issue that we probably will have to address. All right. I mean, of course, cognitive offloading is a very big concern. And I think for that matter, as I mentioned earlier, it is important to redesign assessments, all right, such that it's not easy for them, to just get Gen AI to produce answers for them. Perhaps like contextualize scenarios, get students to weigh in their own personal opinions and things like this. So we also shared this AI assessment skill with our faculty members by Perkins and the team, which is basically a framework, that serves as a guide, for faculty members to rethink about their assessment practices, and to decide, what is that level of AI that students can use in their assessments and for what purpose. All right. So in the next part of the sharing, I will be covering some of the use cases, assessment use cases that we have in our communication skills modules. We used to have this assignment. It's an email assignment in one of the module. So just think about it. Drafting emails in the age of AI. Exactly what does this mean? All right. So unless we are saying that, okay, this piece of assignment, we are going to lock the students in the classroom and you're just going to write in front of me, but if this is going to be a take-home assignment, we have to assume that students may use AI. All right. And therefore, if this is the case, definitely there is a serious need, to then re-look into exactly what should the students be assessed on. All right. So then, of course, there is a need to then re-look into, what the learning outcomes should be. What kind of competencies, that I want to assess the students on. So the team recognize that AI is here to stay, like it or not, and students should be prepared for a future where the AI skills will be important for workplace effectiveness. So therefore, the impetus for the team to then redesign the assessment, was aimed to address that validity concern. All right, through the use of AI tools. First is to embrace AI. It's okay. You can use the AI to help you to draft the email. All right. And use of the AI to augment students' learning in this particular assignment, where the AI is used to complement and not to replace, all right, what the students need to learn and to do, assess their higher order thinking skills. So in this instance, they get the AI to draft the email for them, and the students is supposed to evaluate the draft, which is actually from the AI itself, and they are supposed to justify which part of the email, could be further enhanced. All right, could be improved on. So the students will have to put on their thinking cap, and they need to provide the reasons, and finally add their personal voice to it, to actually show the enhancement to the email itself. So you can see that this whole process, we don't just focus on the final outcome itself, we also look at the process as well. All right. So there must be sufficient evidence for the tutor to actually make judgment about the student's work. But in this whole process itself, we could actually see how human and the AI, work together. So it's like a AI as a co-pilot. All right. So so you can see that human and the AI synergy is sort of maintained. All right. And in fact, this is the general posture that we are advocating to our faculty members in the institution. All right, where the AI and the human should collaborate. All right. But at the end of the day, it is important that we will always want to take a human in the loop approach. The human is the one who makes that final decision. A few months ago, when I was doing a research, I happened to come across this article, which I thought is actually interesting because for many years, when we talk about authorship, it's usually is yeah, we are talking about the human, your originality, your own creativity. But the author of this article, quite interestingly, says the future of writing, creativity, and authorship could be one of a partnership rather than a rivalry between the human and the machine. All right, so it's quite yeah, quite an interesting one. Okay. The second use case that I'm going to share here is something that I mentioned earlier. I'm quite fearful when I was a student. That is oral presentation. All right. So this is another module that all our students in the institution have to take. All right. So so you can imagine for many years the way we deliver this module is because it has always been done in a face-to-face setting, right? So students typically will, be called up stand in front of their classmates and the tutor and, practice their oral presentations and then receive feedback from the tutor. So, so when COVID came, wow, I don't think we can ever imagine all lessons have to be moved online. How then do we uh, deliver, oral presentation module? And in fact, so that was actually 5 years ago. One of my earlier AI exploration. So, but in fact, the truth is, before COVID even struck, one of the faculty member actually came to me. So that was how this exploration started. So this faculty member, has been teaching in this module and was very curious to find out, whether there's this kind of AI tool that could aid the students in improving their oral presentation skills. So that actually led me to start searching for it. And so by the time COVID struck, it was so timely. I managed to find this AI tool, and I actually got my the faculty member to test it out because she's the subject matter expert. So I say, how is it, and in fact the tool is generally sort of like acceptable based on the areas of feedback that the tool actually will provide to the users. So therefore, so when COVID struck and all our lessons have to be moved online, so there is no longer that face-to-face presentation and getting the feedback, from the tutor. So so in that sense, it was so timely, right? And this AI tool at that point in time is sort of like a necessity, all right? Because now we don't meet face to face. So with this AI tool, the beauty of it is that students can do their oral presentation practice anytime, anywhere, and they will get timely and personalized feedback then and there on the spot itself. All right, so this tool is called Speaker Coach. Okay. So as you can see from the screen, the image on the left, basically that is the sort of like a report that the students will be getting after each practice. And this report is actually churned out very quickly the moment the students have complete their practice. So it covers areas such as the pace of the delivery. Are the students using fillers? How is the intonation like, and whether the students even read from the slides. All right, so that's pretty interesting. I think some of these are very, very basic areas are generally more or less covered. So of course, over these last 5 years, the solution has actually improved, right? So so that's the good thing about it, because the students can practice as many times as they like, and each time they get the feedback, they know where their gaps are, and they'll try and improve on it. All right. So then what does this mean for the faculty members? Okay. So for the faculty members, could actually request the students for the report, and then looking at the feedback from the AI, the faculty member will now have a better idea for every student in my class. Where are the gaps, for the students? So if there is a certain area, say for instance, that is actually common to majority of the students in the class, perhaps I can now make better use of my time and deliver and just focus based on those areas where it's common to majority of the students in the class. All right. But if not otherwise, then I could just, focus on students who really need my support. But I suppose beyond that, from my experience as a student, I think oral presentation is something that I need to build up that confidence over time, to be frank. So I think that the encouragement from the faculty member as a student is very, very important. All right. So I think it's beyond just teaching them about the skills. So I guess this is where I can now make better use of my time in class to just focus. Maybe for some of the students, it's really all about the encouragement, and I think AI cannot do that. It is the human, to that human connection. Okay. And even today, as we come out of the pandemic, I think this too continues to remain relevant. I mean, if I'm a student, I think this is good for me, because I don't have to wait till the class time where I get that opportunity to practice. So now I can do it anytime, anywhere, and as I practice more and more, I build up that confidence, as I mentioned earlier on. Yeah. And for someone like me who used to be so fearful standing in front, doing a public speaking, I think at least practicing to the AI sort of like yeah, helped me to overcome some of those anxiety, as I trying to brush up those skills. Yeah. So when I did a study with the faculty member on it's actually for adult learners, because besides taking in the 17 to 19-year-old, we also run courses for adult learners as well. So we did two rounds of study on the adult learners, and and based on the study, we actually found that indeed, by introducing this tool, it actually has a very large effect in terms of the helping our students to improve their oral presentation skills, right? So I move on to the final use case. So in this final use case, I hope this also resonates with you. This use case is about how our faculty members actually build their customized boards to provide feedback to students on their writing assignments. Okay. Yeah, I believe many of you would agree. Our faculty members spend a lot of time uh, giving feedback to students. All right. So yeah. So I think the intent here is really for the board to provide that first cut feedback to the students, and especially on common mistakes, grammar, writing structures, and things like this. Of course, we are not trying to discourage the students from approaching their tutors for feedback, but we thought that perhaps with this board, you could alleviate some of the workload from the tutors by doing all the heavy lifting, so that the faculty members can focus on students who require more support. So of course, we also understand. I mean, if you have used some of the Gen AI tools enough, like even ChatGPT, sometimes they can be very friendly and so eager to do a lot of things for you, right? So likewise, when the faculty member actually built this bot, I think one of the concern when I asked the faculty member is, hey, what happens? What if the bot rewrite for the students? You know, because you know that AI chatbots can sometimes be too eager to rewrite content, all right, for students, rather than the intent here is to guide the students, all right, to improve their own work. So guardrails are put in place to ensure that the bot does not rewrite for the students. So the aim here really is, as mentioned earlier, to provide that first cut feedback, all right? And more importantly is, since the bot doesn't rewrite, so the bot will purely just be giving feedback and also getting the students to really be engaged, you know, put on their thinking cap, to think about how they can actually improve their work, all right? And quite encouragingly, I mean, I must say that as you can see from here, it is really encouraging to see that students are really spending time engaging with the bot, you know. I mean, we cannot imagine, right? If this is in a face-to-face setting, how much time do we have for the individual students, all right, with the consultation time, with the limited time that we have in class for consultation, all right? So you could see that students are really engaging with the chatbot, and in fact, almost half of them have indicated that, you know, it has led to an increase in the confidence, you know, in the assignment piece, right? So you can see from this example itself again that human and AI synergy, all right? What the bot essentially is trying to do here is to augment the tutor in giving feedback. So therefore, with this, it enables the faculty to actually scale all this kind of low stakes formative feedback while freeing up time, you know, for personalized student support, right? So in conclusion, I think as I mentioned earlier on, this journey has not been easy. You know, when ChatGPT first came out, it was almost like everybody was scrambling. I guess over at my end, people are more concerned about you know, so how will this impact students' learning? Will this impact assessment? I mean, the concern about breaching academic integrity is actually, I think there are probably more negatives than positives during those early days. All right, so the journey has not been a straightforward one. But I think gradually, faculty members come to accept AI as an augmenter, adopt AI purposefully. I think that's important, and and to continue to assess, you know, the effectiveness of the AI tools for their pedagogical needs. All right. So at the end of the day, I think we have always been very clear. Technology, tech tools, they are just enablers. Pedagogy is still the first and foremost. And for that matter, if we think that there is still value to test students on content knowledge, then just lock them up in the room. I mean the pen and paper tests and exams still has its place, right? Not that this is no longer important, especially for some of our foundational subjects. But I guess in language and comm, the context is probably different. All right. So so the point that we always make is that as long as this is going to be a take-home assignment, do expect students to be using AIs, and therefore that mindset to disrupt, you know, the kind of assessment practices that they have been holding it for such a long time, I think definitely needs to be relooked into. Yeah, I mean, I guess the disruption, I mean, in that sense, can be positive, can be constructive, because now AI can be harnessed, to actually help our students to develop those uniquely human skills that the AI cannot replicate. So, so in that sense, I mean, I would sum up this journey that my institution have went through using these 5 A's. Yeah, but I guess the first 2 stages were the most challenging to cross. But the moment we cross, I think we can start to see our faculty members starting to explore many things, and some of them I would say they are sort of like ahead of the curve because they are very keen and always curious to see how edtech can be exploited and bring to the maximum value. All right. So yep. So the future is really not about AI replacing the humans, but working in synergy, as I have mentioned a few times earlier on. And actually, earlier this year, our Singapore Prime Minister in our National Day rally also mentioned about this. So in this age of AI, what really matters are the human qualities that machines cannot replicate: character, values, empathy, and a sense of purpose. Yeah, because AI will never be able to replace the creativity, the heart, and the human spirit that they bring to their work. All right. So with this, I end my sharing. Thank you for your kind attention, and certainly we can connect further over LinkedIn. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shi, for that
Yeah.
very informative presentation. While you were discussing things, I placed here some of the lines that or points that you um, said, and I really think that they're really very essential, especially like we have, instead of punishing students, we should think of better ways to assess them because AI will always be there, right? And it's something that we can like control. It's out there. It's ubiquitous actually, 24/7. It's right there. By the way, we're now already um um I have some also some comments here from Olenka from Peru. Hi, Olenka. And she responded totally right, especially when you mentioned the your prime minister's statement. And Sir Francis, hi there. You said many bulb light moments. Thank you. That's wonderful. And are there questions? By the way, here's a question, Chi, sent to me
Yep.
to me. How do you ensure the feedback generated by AI is accurate, constructive, and aligned with learning outcomes?
Yep. Okay. So I think fundamentally the board has been built such that it aligns with the existing practices and what exactly uh, the module team had actually wanted the board to do. Of course, I guess because I also build customized boards for myself as well, and sometimes the board may behave in ways that it isn't supposed to. I mean, it's sort of like go above and beyond what it is actually supposed to do. So to be frank, a lot of testing needs to be done, and over time, the board will learn from it, lah. And because sometimes when we build it and we try to put it to run, and we realize that perhaps it sort of like performs 80-90% of what it is supposed to do. So you will have to continue to provide feedback and to give instructions to the bot so that over time it will sort of like fill up those gaps, where it has went beyond what it is supposed to do. All right. So but I guess okay, this is in a separate context. This is in a separate context. I also know of one of the other two that I actually piloted, because we know that AI, there is that possibility that sometimes they may hallucinate, sometimes the response may be inaccurate. So as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to the use of AI, the way we position it is human in the loop. So I'm not sure how comfortable you may be to this, but my point here is that in one of the other two that we actually explored for adaptive learning, uh, interestingly, the feedback given by the AI uh, was not accurate. So this was actually spotted by one of the students, and the students actually went up to his tutor and showed the tutor. And in fact, that moment when the tutor heard from the student, that is a very teachable moment.
Great.
And that sort of like says it all, in terms of uh, uh, the way that we should use AI. Yeah. So I mean, we may have to live with a bit of discomfort, but actually, if we educate the students right, and I mean, these are moments where we can really see that, hey, the students have really internalized it, and this is the way we should be using AI. Yeah.
Well, good to know that the student himself or herself was able to identify that and it became a teaching moment for the tutor. Lena, here's a question. Lena, would you like to verbalize it
Sure.
to
Yeah. So my question is, you mentioned the need to redesign our assessments. And so I guess my question for you as an expert, what are some trends in how assessments are being redesigned with the awareness that most likely AI is used on every assignment? So if you can maybe just highlight just maybe a few trends that you are seeing of how we are now changing our approach to redesigning our assessments. And I'm specifically thinking more of major assessments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I think one of the observations that I made is people are beginning to then now instead of focusing on that final outcome, that final deliverable, especially in some of the continuous assessment where there are very significant weightage. So the assessment has now been structured it such that we are also now looking at the process. All right, milestone checks. I think that's important. Uh, and because now there is kind of sufficient evidence, for the tutor to then be able to better know uh, the individual students' progress. All right, maybe there may be certain tasks that needs to be performed in class. Certain tasks can then have a follow up. Where they are allowed to actually take home then to then complete. So but of course I think there's also a bit of a challenge lah, because our semester time is actually we don't have the luxury of the time, all right, such that we could structure the assessment in such a manner. But increasingly I am hearing more from the faculty members that they recognize that this is important, so there must be opportunity where they are then able to assess the students at certain stage of the semester. So I think this is one observation. And also increasingly, we are also trying to uh, in in the assignment itself, the scenarios are also crafted such that it is in the institution's context, because that is where the AI doesn't have knowledge about the institution's context. So I think faculty members are now probably more mindful all right, in terms of providing specific context in which the AI may not have knowledge of, all right? But then, of course, on the other hand, this is something that I mean, I would suggest if if this piece of assignment, you're just going to cram it and where students are under time pressure to complete the assignment. And when they're under pressure, I mean, you can imagine they will look to the AI to do it. They will try and shortcut it because they are already under pressure. So I think when it comes to the design of the assessment, I think we ourselves will then have to look through if student is only going to be given this much of time, then we got to ask ourselves whether is it reasonable, long enough time for them to complete the assignment of this skill based on this scope, for instance. So because as I mentioned earlier, assessment drives learning, and how true it is. All right, so students will definitely strategize, all the more especially if they are under time pressure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Alina.
Chee. So, are there other questions? We still have few minutes before we end, but we would like to thank you, Chee, for being with us tonight. I know you're really very busy, but thank you. By the way, there was this tip that you shared when we met last year during your presentation. I actually use that in my class, like analyzing two texts. One is AI generated and the other one is human created. And so I allow my students to identify which do you think is AI generated and which one is human created. I use that in my class and we really actually have fun doing that. And when they identify it's this AI, how you're going to make it, how will you place or inject the AI, the human element into it. And so thank you. I actually did that in my class. Um, Thank you once again to those who are with us this evening. If you don't have any more questions, Chi is more than willing to connect with us through LinkedIn. So, Min, do you have other things to say, Min, before we go?
No, thank you so much, for the wonderful presentation, Chi, and then thank you, Rita.
So that's all for
Thanks,
this
Miss An.
evening.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you so much and have a good evening. Have a good morning wherever you are.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,